I have been a fan of zombie stuff since I was a kid. So when I heard that there was a show with a main character with a zombie girlfriend, I was interested. I thought that it'd be like a whole season of that relationship Kaneki and Rize had in Tokyo Ghoul, even though it was pretty short-lived. Then I found out the main character is only into zombie girls, and I thought that meant goth girls, but no. I try hard not to kink shame, and I know that some people are into so many different things, especially when anime puts tits on everything. I mean, the zombie girl in Monsters Musume has tits that are removable, or rather tits that come off. But I was always of the belief, when seeing a zombie, regardless of gender, you take Leon's advice from Resident Evil Degeneration.
Shoot them in the head.
If you'd like to see my thoughts on an anime about a zombie fan and possible necrophilia protecting a zombie girl, then let's begin. Let's start off with the important characters. Our main character, Chihiro Furuya, resident zombie fanatic, and that kid everybody told you to avoid because, well...
His hair, whack! His gear, whack! The way that he doesn't even like to smile, whack!
His main love interest is Rei Sanka, a member of the undead for most of the series who's cheerful on the outside but has a tragic past. Then there's Ranko, childhood friend, and I guess love interest? And did I mention cousin? There's also Danichiro, Ryo's father, whose hobbies include fencing, controlling various aspects of his daughter's life, and taking naked photos of his daughter every birthday, every year. Oh yeah, and Babu is Chihiro's cat. There are other characters, but they're not really important to the majority of the plot.
Gross.
So let's just get started on summarizing the series. While marketed as a rom-com for some reason, most of the series centers around Chihiro trying to keep Reia's body from rotting while helping her live a normal life and evading her pedophile father. The first 3 episodes show the standard operating procedures of the Furuya family. Chihiro and Reia using the dark arts to create a zombie potion to resurrect Babu, and Reia trying to keep Chihiro from getting castrated by her father, while learning firsthand just how thirsty Chihiro's friends are. Reia becomes a zombie in episode 3. The way this happens is in episode 2, after learning about her tragic story and tragic past, she drinks a portion of the zombie potion meant for Babu in hopes that it would end her life. And while it doesn't end her life, later in episode 3, at the very end of it, she falls off of a cliff, and rather than staying dead, she came back up. The next 3 episodes are about Chihiro dealing with the aftermath of Reia becoming a zombie, while essentially everybody tries to stop him, especially Ranko. After episode 6, there are 2 filler episodes, with 1 normal episode sandwiched between. Episode 7 is centered around Ranko remembering what it was like growing up with Chihiro, who acted like a little shit most of the time, but he saved her from that dog that one time, so ever since then she's been in love with him. While these flashbacks are going on, there's a side quest that Chihiro and Ranko are going on involving making deliveries or something. The episode ends with Ranko, I think it's called Kappa-doning? Like pushing Chihiro against a wall and coming in for a kiss, but she pushes out at the last second and just runs off to the cliff and screams. She screams into the mountains how much she loves him or something. I don't know, it's fucking weird. I say I don't know because in the English dub, she's saying that they belong together or she belongs with Chihiro.
Cause I belong with Chihiro!
But in the sub, she says that she's not going to be beaten.
Hey! Shut the f*** up!
And there's a point I go over later, so we'll just go with that. That it's that she doesn't want to be beaten out by Reia. Anyway, the regular episode, episode 8, is mainly about Chihiro and Reia going to play dress up at the mall.
Yeah.
Reia almost getting captured by some men that her father sent. but because of the fact that Rei is a zombie, she uses her new beast fighting style to subdue all of the men. But she forgets that Chihiro is extremely dumb, so he decides to walk over right next to the person who literally acted as a distraction and gets captured. The other filler episode, episode 9, revolves around Chihiro's sister, Mero, her stupid-ass friends, and a weird situation that happens where Mero calls Rhea mom. The second half of the series focuses on concluding the conflict from episode 8. While this is resolved in a few chapters in the manga, the anime drags it on for some reason. And the way that it does this mainly is by dedicating an entire episode to learning about the resident step-MILF and her side of the events involving Rhea, herself, and Rhea's father. Now, this is important, I'm not gonna lie. All this information is being said, it's important. But we're on episode 10. This should have been resolved in 4 episodes, whatever. After we learn about the resident step-MILF, we are immediately greeted in episode 11 with Chihiro and Danichiro, Rhea's father, getting into a fencing match.
On guard. I'll let you try my Wu-Tang style.
You would think there'd be some sort of importance, considering the fact that the vast majority of the series built up to this exact moment. But no, we see Chihiro acting like a monkey, talking all this like mad shit, and then he just gets stabbed. And I'm not gonna lie, it was enjoyable. We're wondering, because it's literally named after her, where's Rhea? She's getting molested and being forced to wear costumes by her maid that she can easily overpower, but she remembers it like halfway through the episode because of course she fucking does. But anyway, we didn't even get to enjoy the stabbing because Chihiro got injured in episode 6 or something, and because he got injured, Rhea decided to lick his wound. So that happened like a day ago, but somehow the shit that's inside of Rhea, the zombie poison, or whatever, gets into Chihiro's bloodstream, so somehow that gives him zombie powers. So instead of Chihiro collapsing like the bitch he is, he headbutts Danichiro. You would think, considering how creepy Danichiro is, we would see Chihiro beat his ass, but no. He literally just lectures Danichiro. After Danichiro caves and says he's not going to fight anymore, Chihiro suddenly remembers that he has a sword stuck in his chest and he collapses. And unfortunately for everybody involved, he survives. Which brings us to episode 12. The last episode mainly revolves around Rhea feeling sad that Ranko has feelings for Chihiro, because even though Ranko's constantly hanging around Rhea, it's only now occurred to her that Ranko has feelings for him, because she's dumb. I don't know why. Rhea wanting to go to a fireworks festival that gets cancelled, and instead having a little get-together at the Furuya residence. The only thing of note in this entire episode is like 2 things. First, Ranko has a conversation with Rhea and discusses what she should do in regards to Rhea's romantic pursuit of Chihiro. Immediately, Rhea wants to like basically give him up and say, well, I'm gonna die anyway, so it doesn't make much of a difference. And Ranko is just trying to say like, no, I need you to fight. She just really gets off on the idea of competing for Chihiro for some fucking reason. The other important thing is that the abandoned hotel they met at, they're in the bowling alley specifically, the exact same bowling alley that they made the concoction to bring back Babu, and they're discussing things. After Rhea tells Chihiro that she wants to go back to school, Chihiro responds by saying he wants to continue looking for a way to preserve her body. After this conversation ends, you hear what sounds like a heartbeat, and then Rhea jumps on Chihiro or falls on him and bites his lip and looks at him like she's fucking possessed. End credits. But what about episode 13, you may be asking? That's not episode 13. It's an OVA. And it doesn't really fucking matter. Why doesn't it fucking matter? Because one of the key things, considering it's a show about a zombie girl, that happens isn't mentioned in the next episode. Like, it completely forgets almost all of the events from the last episode and just continues going on. And more importantly than that, it's focused on the fucking cat. Yes, Babu gets his own fucking episode. But it's not completely a waste. The OVA does introduce a new character named Darin, and that character is extremely important. She seems to have like information studying zombies, but she gets introduced and then immediately we don't hear shit about her. There are 2 other OVAs, but they don't really matter. One of them's a prequel, and the other one is like a what if, because it involves like a dream or something. It's fucking dumb, dude. Like, it doesn't matter. The other OVA doesn't matter. So after all this being said, what did I think of the anime? When strictly looking at Sankarea as an anime, this anime ends without there ever being an answer for Rei's predicament, introduces a pointless and underdeveloped love triangle, and tells information about characters that don't matter 3 times. After all of that, this anime says fuck everything and ends without there ever being a resolution for any of the conflicts mentioned. Then Ichiro only agreed to stop controlling Rhea. He never agreed to leave her alone completely. Moreover, since he never comes back in the end like he does in the manga, as far as the anime is concerned, his journey leaves off on a cliffhanger. Which means Chihiro never finds a way to preserve Rhea's body, and that's just the end of it. When speaking strictly about the love triangle, based off of various scenes of dialogue, Ranko is more focused on not losing Chihiro than trying to be in a relationship with him. Her dialogue in the anime focuses more on it being a competition between herself and Rhea than how Chihiro feels about her. When speaking about Rhea, all we know is she's just being friendly. As far as we know, she's just being friendly to Chihiro because Chihiro's being friendly with her. It's only when the idea of Ranko possibly taking Chihiro away from her that she starts to show signs that she might like Chihiro. But as we learn a little bit later, it might have nothing to do with romance. It might literally be that she just wants to eat Chihiro. And you have to bear with me a bit. Anyone who's seen Food Wars knows that when it comes to things like anime, storytelling, there are ways that food and enjoying food can be likened to having sex. If you take that concept and pair it with Dahmer's understanding of cannibalism being tied to love, I guess you could say that Rhea does love Chihiro. But let me explain a little bit further. While it never touches on this in the anime, the manga discusses different stages zombies eventually go through as they decay. For our purposes, we're going to focus on the first two stages. Stage 1 is the fresh state, and stage 2 is the confused eater state. The fresh state is the state that Rhea is in. This is where she's most coherent, most herself, and mostly eats hydrangea leaves. The confused eater state is where the zombie begins to eat people that they have close bonds with. To be a bit more on the nose, after having already bitten Chihiro and running away, Rhea thinks to herself that the idea of Chihiro being inside her is romantic. And while it will be a heavy spoiler to actually reveal how this happens, through some reinterpretations of these things and thinking of things the way we just mentioned, I guess in Rhea's mind, technically Chihiro and her f***ed. I'm not really sure how that would be represented, but I guess it'd be the closest thing. To conclude, this anime was f***ing weird. Extremely weird. Even by my standard. I've read Crossed, I've watched Corpse Party, I've played the games, I've done all this stuff, and it's f***ing weird. I mean, it's not as gory and violent as a lot of zombie anime is, and it's not like whatever the Monstrous Musume was, where like it was just kind of like a, oh, that's weird, huh? And just kind of continued. It's its own thing, but I will say this. Even though the anime and manga for this series are weird, while I was taking screenshots for the manga, I constantly found myself rereading the manga. I constantly found myself rewatching the anime as I took clips to make this video. And I will say that whether you choose to read the manga first and then watch the anime, or watch the anime and then read the manga, the experience is overall pretty good. The anime does do a good job of conveying the tone and overall feel of the manga, at least its best parts. And after watching it, you'd be able to skip to volume 3 or 4. If you just want to watch the anime without reading the manga though, I'd say it's a huge waste of time. It ends on a cliffhanger, nothing is resolved. The vast majority of characters are literally at their worst in comparison to where they are in the manga. And if you came for the simple reason I did, I came to watch this anime because I wanted to see Rhea get pushed to her limits. I wanted to see Chihiro really develop as a character through shitloads of mind-numbing shit just constantly being thrown at him. And the anime doesn't really deliver on that. The manga does, in leaps and bounds, it definitely does. But the anime doesn't. But I will say this, I would not have known about the manga if I had not watched the anime. And as time has progressed and I made this video, I can tell you that I absolutely love both. But I don't really recommend it, unless you have a ton of free time on your hands. Well, this was kind of a review, but it was more of just some thoughts on. I am glad that you stuck with me. Thank you for listening to me ramble.
Stalk you later.